good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. This is a very special show. I'm coming to you today to talk to you about my good friends over at AARP. I know we're all saying, AARP, I'm too young for that. What do you mean, Chat Daddy? How can I be a person that would belong to AARP? Well, today we're going to talk about everything that is AARP, and joining me today is my very special guest, Ms. Chartay Robinson, who is the Associate State Director of Advocacy and Outreach for AARP Illinois. Let's welcome her to the show. Yay, there she is. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good afternoon. All right. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to talk more about AARP.
Oh, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here, Chartay. I've known you for a number of years, and the one thing that I'm going to say about you is that you've always been about helping people and giving back to our community. And so when I found out about you in this wonderful, exciting position at AARP, I said, listen, I need to talk to her. I belong to AARP. I've been a member for a number of years. I just renewed my membership, and people who look as fabulous as you and I, they go, I don't need to belong to no AARP. And I'm like, you a lie. It's a lot of wonderful, great benefits that go along with AARP. So please tell us about your position and let's talk about AARP.
Sure. Thank you again. All right. So you're right. There are two types of people that I engage with when I talk about AARP. They're the proud card-carrying members, and then those who are in denial. But actually, they meet the qualifications, the age qualifications to be a part of AARP. So the purpose of this engagement today and conversation is to really inform community about who we are. So AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's dedicated to the health and wellness of those of us who are aging. So what we want to make sure is that people know all of the resources that we have available as we age gracefully and wholly and well.
Very good. So when we think of AARP and its founders, AARP has been around since 1958, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk a little bit about who created it and where and again, we thinking great grandparents, but now we're at that age. So let's talk about a little bit of the history and when it was founded.
Sure. We just celebrated our 65th birthday, AARP. And so it was founded by Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus. And so she was a retired educator in California, but the goal was to have a resource for community members to access for positive social engagement through advocacy and then social, again, services and then information.
Wow, interesting. Very good. Now, let's talk about the demographic of the membership. Now, I do know that there's a certain age, and I did start getting the flyers in the mail, and I was like, oh my God, how do they know I'm this age? But what is the demographic of the membership of the organization?
So what we often say now is you're never too young to be an AARP member. So many of us have received applications before we started, before we met our 50s, right? And the reason why is because what we're learning, and I'll talk more about it in a second, is that the things that community has shared with us of importance, it applies to anyone at any age. But to answer your question, we have over 38 million members in the United States, and that's also including Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And specifically for Illinois, we have 1.7 million members in the state of Illinois, approximately 250,000 in the city of Chicago, and approximately 72,000 on the south side of Chicago. So our membership is deep, wide, and it's very, the opportunity for us to engage with our community is deep and wide as well.
Wow, that is so interesting. I had no idea that the numbers were that great like that. And I would imagine every year the number gets larger and larger because so many of us fabulous people are falling into that demographic.
Well, that's very true, Art. And so, where our membership is concerned, it spans generations, right? So, we often talk about our grandparents and our parents, but also we're living in a space, those of us who are on 50, and maybe even 50 to 65, it's considered the sandwich generation. And that means that there are folks who are taking care of their parents and then also having children who are in college. So we are in a very unique space, if you will, where funds and resources and the ability to access resources and information is so necessary and critical for us at this point.
Very good. I want to talk about some of the advocacy work. I really do enjoy reading the emails I get. I get the magazine, and I've learned just so many things just about the organization and how it is so helpful to people. Let's talk about the advocacy work that goes on within the organization.
Thank you. So we are a fierce defender of advocacy work. And the reason why is because we want to make sure that we too can be a voice of the 50 plus population, but that's from a local, state, and government perspective. We all live, thank God, many of us lived through the COVID pandemic. AARP was a resource during that time. There's also an opportunity, then presented an opportunity for us to engage with community who may not have had web or internet access or what have you to receive information. So being very intentional with how we engage with community at such a vulnerable time for all of us across the world, right? But it's also for COVID, from prescription drugs to caregiving, supporting caregiving. So all of our advocacy work is a response to community members who are saying these are the priority areas and these are the areas in which we need support. And AARP is definitely a resource in that way.
Wow, I just think that is incredible. Really, I do. I think it works out well. When you speak of community, Chartay, a lot of what you do is embracing the community. And even though the advocacy work is there, going and meeting people where they are is so important. So let's talk about some of the community outreach that you've done as well.
Sure. So I often use this quote or speak this quote. There's another one that I'm very in favor of, but our community is the place where we can be most effective. And how can we be most effective is by being in the community. So understanding the needs, the barriers, the distinctions, and the lack of access, but then there is access as well, information and education. So from an engagement perspective, community engagement, we are here to make sure that we provide the resources based on the needs of our community.
Oh, very good. Now, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about when it comes to some of the products and services that AARP offers. Not only is it just great discounts, you guys, but I was able to tweak my resume through AARP. I was able to network with some really great people. Let's talk about some of the products and services that people can benefit from.
Sure. So to your point, what most people know about AARP are the benefits, are the discounts, right? And that is true. You go anywhere, you can flash your AARP card, and 9 times out of 10, you'll get a significant discount. But we also want to make sure that people understand, to your point, that if technology may be a challenge or utilizing your smartphone, or, we're approaching the holiday time where fraud and scam will be on a rise, and making sure that we prepare ourselves so that our seniors, our 50 plus community are as prepared and informed as possible. So if you go to aarp.org, that way you can find out all the information and ways that we can help with the protection of all communities, and especially our vulnerable senior population.
Very good. I think that is just so important. Something else that I want to kind of talk to you about that I think that is important as well too is how do you keep people engaged? And post-pandemic, as the term would be said, we're opening back up. We're back out here, and I noticed that AARP is doing a very good job of coming into the community and doing events. So let's talk about the events that will be going on in the community.
Absolutely. So on October the 11th, for your audience who are caregivers, who are friends of caregivers, and anyone that falls, I think we all have an experience with caregiving for a loved one or a friend or a family member. And so on October the 11th, from 11, what time did I put? Yeah, from 11 until 2, we will be at the Kroc Center, which is at 1250 West 119th Street. Here you will be able to learn about, discover the 5 key steps to aid you in your caregiving activities. It'll be a lightly facilitated conversation about family and caregiving. We'll also connect you and exchange tips with fellow caregivers. And then finally, we'll have resources, not only just from AARP, but from other resources that are within the community that people can access in order to wholly engage and care for their loved one. So that's October the 11th. We'd like for folks to RSVP. We will have a light lunch available. There's free parking, and this event is also free.
I think that is so wonderful. Coming to the community, doing things for people in the community, and making people feel valued and loved is the most important thing. And as we all know, caregiving is something that we all have had to do or will do at some point in life. And what people don't realize is that the caregivers have got to take care of themselves in order to take care of someone. Would you agree?
That is absolutely the case. And so, as I mentioned, we all have a responsibility to take care of one another. And even as a friend, that you know that someone is an active caretaker for someone, to be that person and say, what have you done for yourself? Because we can only be as whole as we pour into ourselves, so then we can pour into others. So this event that's on October the 11th, it will serve both. It will serve with resources but it will also encourage the caregiver to think about themselves. And we understand that that's selfish. Someone could think, oh, no, I don't want to think that's selfish about myself, but in all ways, it's not being selfish, because you can only be healthy. If you're healthy, then you're healthy enough to take care of someone else.
Absolutely. You and I have talked about a lot of just wonderful, amazing things during this time of just the importance of AARP. If there was anything else that you can think of that would encourage people who are watching us, who are listening, to really think about it. I mean, again, I'm living proof that I've enjoyed my benefits. I have aged gracefully. I walk into my gracefulness every day, and I'm thankful for everything that is associated with AARP. But what would you really want people to know more than anything from your heart?
Sure, indeed. So yes, the event that's October the 11th, but also if there's a desire to volunteer on the south side of Chicago with all of the events that we have completed this year, but then there's some upcoming events until the end of the year. But then also for next year, here's a little tip that you do not have to be a member in order to be a volunteer with AARP. I often want to have volunteers who are from the South Side when we have South Side events, because then you get to volunteer in your backyard. You're more committed to, you're more engaged by when there are things that are happening in your own community. So the best way that I can continue to have these types of events on the south side of Chicago is by increasing our volunteer base. So if you're interested in joining AARP as a volunteer, please go to aarp.org, or I'll even give my email address out, and it's crobinson@aarp.org. I welcome the opportunity to work with community on the South Side and then provide resources and events and engagement that is of great importance for our community.
Wow, that is so interesting. How many volunteers do you need at a particular time? Is it, 2, 3? Is it hundreds? What are you looking for in volunteers?
So, that's a really good question. Art. Now, it depends on the event, but, sometimes I could have a large event and I need a number of volunteers, but if it's during the day, during the week, that will limit some of the volunteers who work. So sometimes that's when people who are retired or who have the luxury of time to give back during the day, they can participate. So I normally, just based on folks' availability, is how I assign people to events. So it's not a number. It's just that there's the will, there's the interest, and then we'll figure out the rest after that.
Wow, I love it. I really do. Ladies and gentlemen, do what you can. If you can volunteer, roll up your sleeves, give a few hours of your time. It does not take a lot. It's all about love and unity. Now that we are post-pandemic, we, to me, have a new sense of awakening and giving to other people, and giving your time back to the community is the best thing that you can do. So please email Chartay at caarp.org. Come on out on the 11th. I'm excited about that. October 11th. The information is there for you to register. It's all about caregiving. We're talking 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I heard light lunch, so I'll be there no matter what. I heard LUNCH.
Right.
Please join us.
It's free.
Hey, oh, did you say free? The operative word. Oh my Lord, free. Okay, we love that. So please join us at the beautiful Kroc Center, 1250 West 119th Street, not far from the expressway, off of a bus line, as well as free parking. And Chartay, I don't even know what more to say. You got me. I'm hooked. I'm there.
Great.
I'm going to be a part of anything that you want, and I'm going to encourage my audience to do the same as well too.
Great.
In closing, what would you like to say?
This is not our grandparents' AARP. And so we want to change the face. We want to complement what has already been established and accomplished by 65 years of AARP in all 50 states. And then we also want to make sure that we show up the South Side of Chicago, as we always do, to support one another, but then also for us to be well educated, involved, and aware of the resources, free resources that are available to us via AARP.
I love it. I really do. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your chance. Here's your opportunity. As I've said many times before, I'm embracing mine. You need to embrace yours. Yeah. If you do not have a membership as of yet, please do so. Go to AARP.org. You can apply right there online. I just renewed mine for 3 years. And I'm going to volunteer. You should too. Volunteering is good for the heart, the mind, and the soul. Well, Chartay, I want to say thank you so very much for joining us today. This is a beautiful opportunity. I think this is a message that really needs to get out to people. We want to remind everyone to join us on October 11th on a beautiful fall day at the Kroc Center for a Caregivers event. Thank you guys so very much. Chartay, as always, it's been a pleasure, and continue to keep doing the good work that you do.
Thank you very much. With your support, I can.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our good friend, the one and only Miss Chartay Robinson. She is the Associate State Director of Advocacy and Outreach for AARP Illinois. Get that membership. Get that card. Oh, I forgot to mention, I get donuts. I don't need them, but I get them. So that's a benefit. I'm going to tell you now. So make sure you do that and be a part of